everyone. This is William from the Headphone Experience, and I'm here today with my full review of the Beyerdynamic T1, and this is the second generation. Still not sure entirely if it's pronounced Beyerdynamics or Beyerdynamics. I've had people insist on both ways of saying it. I've had people tell me this is directly from the factory, that it's pronounced Beyer, and I've had them tell me that direct from the company it's called Beyer. So I'm still not sure. So anyway, the T1 second generation. These are made in Germany, and they currently sell through Beyer for $9.99, but on Amazon I've found them as low as $7.29 right now, and that's for new. And quite a few companies selling these at $7.99. This is a wired, it's full size, it's an over-the-ear design, and they're semi-open. It uses a dynamic driver with what Beyer calls Tesla technology, and I think that's got a lot to do with the magnet strength and the real tight tolerances and the build of that driver. These have an impedance of 600 ohms, and Beyer claims a sensitivity of 102 decibels at 1 milliwatt. And also on the website, these are claimed to be 360 grams, and according to my scale, they come in at 358 grams. So I believe this is the first headphone that has actually come in under the claimed weight. So 358 grams is actually very light for a full-size headphone. I believe the Hi-Fi Man Aria, I believe, if I remember right, came in at about 420 grams. So these are very light. They have a detachable cable, and I believe that's the primary difference between these and the first generation. First generation had a non-detachable cable. The cable that comes with these is very high quality, very nice, has a nice cloth covering, and they not really a problem with tangling, and it's very flexible, doesn't make a bunch of noise rubbing on itself. And at the headphone end, you got your standard, which is pretty much standard now, 3.5 millimeter connections. I don't know if you can see this. The right channel has red rings in it, and the left channel has white, so that kind of makes it easy to figure out which is which instead of looking for a tiny little mark or a stamp on them. And then at the amp end, it has a 6.3 millimeter single-ended connection, and that screws off and gives you a 3.5 millimeter connection. I did want to give you a close look at the headphone. And the headphone, to be honest, these were smaller and lighter than I was expecting them to be for a flagship headphone. I mean, probably 5 or 6 years ago, this was one of the top high-end headphones, and I think these originally sold for about $13.95. And, to be honest, because of the lightweight, and it's a mostly plastic construction, they do have metal yokes. But, I mean, my first impression was it felt a little bit light and a little bit cheap for, what is a flagship headphone still from Beyer, and, one of the top headphones. But, they seem very well built though. I mean, it is a plastic ear cup, but the build quality seems really good, and they do seem sturdy and solid. And, like I said, the ear cup appears to be plastic. You've got a real fine wire kind of metal mesh grill on these. You've got metal yokes, and they have click adjustments. And then the headband is well padded. I believe it's a synthetic leather. And then the ear pads are a velour material with a memory foam inside, and they are very soft and very comfortable. And you have your separate connections for the cable at each ear cup, and they use 3.5 millimeter connections. I did want to show you, see if I can flex this a little bit, if you can see, the driver inside of these is way off center. It's mounted way to the front and angled back. And I think that's what helped create a real deep soundstage with these. It kind of moves the entire soundstage forward a bit, and it seems to give a lot more depth. It's a more natural sound, actually. I like it quite a bit. You know, it kicks the vocals and everything forward instead of coming from the sides. They come in front, more like, you know, listening to speakers. I did want to talk, I wanted to mention fit and comfort, and if I get these adjusted right here, these headphones, like I said, are very light for a full-size headphone. The ear cups are just big enough that they clear my ears all the way around, and I don't feel any rubbing or any pressure anywhere. The clamping pressure is just about perfect. They don't move around, yet I don't feel it squeezing my head at all. And to be honest, I can barely feel this headphone on my head. So, I mean, the comfort is exceptional on these. I think I could pretty much wear these for, you know, hours on end without any discomfort. As far as the equipment I used in doing my review of these, I used more than anything probably the Headamp GSX Mini, and I did also these headphones did come with 2 cables, and these were loaned to me actually by one of my viewers, Mr. John Steiner out of Arkansas, sent these to me to do a review, and he did include 2 cables. One was balanced with a 4-pin XLR, so I did use the balanced output from the GSX Mini by Headamp. I did quite a bit of listening to these with the Audio GD Master 9, also from the balanced output. And then fortunately, he's also sent, you know, the cable I just showed you with the single-ended output, because I got a chance to try these with the Felix Audio Echo, which is an OTL type of tube amp, and I was really, really impressed. These things sound incredible with that amp. So I'll talk about that a little bit more in a while, but I'm really glad I had a chance to try these with that tube amp, because, I mean, people talk about synergy between a headphone and a headphone amp, and I totally agree with that, because I don't see how a person could review a headphone with only one amp, because not every amp and every headphone match up, and the same thing with an amp. I mean, I don't see how a person could really do a review of an amp without more than one headphone, because, I mean, you know, it's been my experience that some headphones just don't match up well with some amps, and some amps just don't match up well with some headphones. And this headphone and the Felix Audio Echo is just an incredible combination. But it also worked very well with the Headamp GSX Mini, the Master 9, and I even tried this with the $99 Atom, JDS Atom, and that worked really well too. Even though this is a 600 ohm headphone, it's really not all that hard to drive, because it does have a pretty high efficiency or sensitivity. So even the little $99 JDS Atom did a pretty good job with these. Anyway, I also want to talk a little bit about the headphones that I compared it to. And I did compare it to several, but the one I kind of settled on and did most of my comparing with was the Kennerton Magni. And that's some pretty tough competition, because the Kennerton Magni, I voted the best headphone deal of the year in 2019. I mean, I just think that is an outstanding headphone for the price, and I believe it currently goes for about $769, so it's right about the same price as this headphone. And like I said, I love the Magni, so that's a pretty tough competition. And this headphone held its own with the Magni in just about every way. So, you know, I'm going to tell you right now, I really like this headphone, and, you know, I'm going to get into the sound a little bit and tell you why I like it so much. I also did compare it to a few other headphones. One of the headphones I had in, and it's more expensive at $16.50, is the Spirit Torino Super Allegra, and I even compared this a little bit to the Kennerton Odin and a few other headphones, the Hi-Fi Man Sandara. So, you know, I put it up against some good headphones, and I mean, it just it didn't let me down at all. As far as music, I listen to a variety, some classic rock, some pop, some electronic, some acoustical music, some orchestral music, and this headphone seems to work real well with pretty much any kind of music I throw at it. Getting into the actual sound, I would describe, and before I did this video, I watched my first impressions, and my views on this have changed slightly. And, you know, but that's what happens. I put in more time and I compare it to more headphones, and, you know, I do sometimes change my opinion a little bit, usually not drastically. In my first video, I described the tone balance as being almost neutral, but a little bit on the warm side. I'm going to change that a little bit after more listening and after comparing this to some other headphones. I would describe this as almost neutral, but a little bit V-shaped, the tone balance. It's got a little bit of emphasis in the bass, and it's got a little bit of emphasis in the treble. So it is a little bit V-shaped compared to neutral, and it definitely does have some warmth in the mid-range. And but in my opinion, it works real well. The slight V-shape and the warmth in the mid-range definitely works with this headphone. As far as frequency extension, I would say it's very good at both ends. They extend low. These have good sub-bass. The treble extends, as far as I can hear it, I mean, they've got very good treble presence. In fact, like I said, I think the treble's got a little bit of emphasis to it, and the treble really jumps out on these. I've actually heard some people describe these as being a little on the dark side, and I don't see that at all. They don't seem dark at all to me. And I've heard people describe, I'm not sure if it was this particular headphone, but I've heard people describe Beyerdynamics in general as being on the bright side, and I don't really see that either. I see the trebles just about perfect on these, at least for me anyway. Excuse me a second. Anyway, getting into the, you know, different parts of the sound, the bass on these is well extended. It's deep, it's solid, and it's very well controlled. Never sounds boomy, never sounds loose, never sounds muddy. Not a huge amount of impact, but very strong. I mean, it's strong, solid bass. And to tell you the truth, I never even experimented with EQing these at all, because I was so happy with the tone balance right out of the box that I never even felt tempted to EQ these. I mean, pretty much anything I listened to, they sounded perfect. The bass was just right, in my opinion. Just a, you know, little bit of emphasis above neutral, but perfectly clean and detailed and good texture. Getting into the mids, very well balanced, just slightly set back a little bit. Female vocals I noticed to be a little bit more distant than with a few other headphones, but I think that's probably because of the V-shape to the tone balance. The mids are very smooth, very clean, absolutely free of any grain, no harshness at all, just creamy smooth. I mean, like butter smooth, just as smooth as they get. I mean, just beautiful mid-range, and especially female vocals, just they sound rich, and they just sound so just flowing liquid. I've never heard a headphone that I think has better female vocals than this. I mean, it's up there with anything. Just really, really pleasant sounding. The treble, like I said, it has pretty good extension. It's very present. I don't have to strain to hear the treble. Very detailed, very clean, very, just the treble, I hear bells and chimes, as dings and tings and not, just, like an S sound, just kind of some headphones, the treble sounds like tss, where these, it's a clean ding or a clean ting, just real beautiful treble in my opinion. The detail and resolution, it's not the absolute last word in detail. It's way up there. I mean, these are very close to some of the most detailed headphones I've heard, but it's not quite there. It's not analytical, but I don't feel like it's lacking anything. I've never listened to a single song that I felt like I was missing out on any detail. It's just not in your face, where it's, like I said, it doesn't sound analytical. It's just very detailed, but yet smooth and easy to listen to. The imaging is very good. It's very precise. I can locate all the instruments. These do a very good job of separating each instrument from each other, so I can, pick one out at a time and listen to it. The sound stage, I would say, is about average for an open back headphone, and this being a semi-open, I guess that makes it pretty good in width. The height is good. Where these stand out is they seem to have very good depth of the sound stage, and that might be because of the drivers being mounted to the front of the ear cups and angled back, but they do seem to have good depth, and especially in the mid-range and vocals, I hear them, they sound natural. They sound like they're back on the stage instead of right in front of my face, or some headphones will put the vocals even in the middle of your head. And these, the whole sound stage is moved forward a little bit, and I really enjoy that. It gives them a natural sound. As far as dynamics, not the most dynamic headphone, kind of an easygoing headphone. They remind me a little bit of the Hi-Fi Man Aria, which it's just got kind of average dynamics. It's just a real easygoing, kind of mellow. It doesn't drive the sound into your eardrums, but it's there. It's not lacking anything, and that's kind of the way these are. It's just a very easygoing headphone. As far as listening fatigue, I would have to say these have pretty much zero listening fatigue. These headphones never sound harsh. They never sound sibilant. They don't sound analytical to the point of wearing you out, even though they are very well detailed. I would just say, as far as fatigue, these headphones have a perfect combination of the sound not being fatiguing and the comfort and weight not being fatiguing. And if I had to pick a headphone to wear all day long, this might be the one, because it doesn't wear you out in any way. I did want to mention that with the amps, these did very, very well with the solid state amps, but I finally got a chance. I still have the Echo tube amp from Felix Audio with me, and I never did have a chance to try that with a high impedance headphone, and this being 600 ohms is as high as they get, and I know that OTL type tube amps are designed, to work real well with a high impedance headphone, and to tell you the truth, the combination was just beautiful. I hooked up to the Echo tube amp. It just made this headphone, everything that was great about this headphone, it made it even a little bit better. Just that it gave a little bit more warmth to it, a little bit more bass. The thing I noticed the most, though, is it just gave these a really three-dimensional, kind of almost holographic sound stage. And to be honest, I just love this headphone with the Felix Audio Echo, and I might even do an update on that Echo amp just because of how good it sounds with these headphones before I send these back. You know, it's just an outstanding combination. And to tell you the truth, if I had $1,500 or so to invest in a headphone amp and a headphone, I don't think you could do better, really, you know, with this combination of the T1 and that Felix Audio Echo. They're just an incredible combination that works so well together that I think they could hold their own against most amp headphone combinations up to $3,000 or $4,000. These just sound that good with that amp. Like I said earlier, I did most of my comparison. Excuse me again, please. Kind of hot in here, and my mouth gets dried out a little bit talking too much. So anyway, I did compare these to the Kennerton Magni, and like I said, they're one of my favorite headphones, and I highly recommend the Magni. Well, anyway, just kind of a, you know, quick comparison of the two. They're very similar in weight. They're very similar in comfort. They're similar in sound, a little bit different. Sound-wise, I would say that these, where the Magni is almost perfectly neutral, these have a slight V shape, so these have a little more emphasis to the bass and treble. They both have very good extension on both ends. The Magni has incredible sub bass, but these have a little bit more punch in the mid bass. I would say these overall are a little bit warmer through the mid-range, where the Magni is super detailed, almost on the verge of being analytical, but not in a bad way. So the Magni, you're going to get a little bit more detail in the mid-range, but these are a little bit warmer, a little more relaxed. I think the Magni might be a little bit more dynamic. You know, but other than that, they're very close in the sound. They're, you know, so between the two, I would say if you want a slightly warmer, little more weight to the mid bass, this might be the better choice. If you want a little bit more detail, a little more neutrality, you know, that the Kennerton Magni might be the right one. But you know, that has been one of my favorite headphones, and this is very close. In fact, I might, next week or sometime, I might do an actual comparison video of the two. So I would say just my overall view of this headphone is it's extremely pleasant to listen to. It works with just about any kind of music I throw at it. It just seems to work with everything. It's just very well balanced. And the sound and the, you know, just everything about it. It's just a well-balanced headphone. And I would say that really this headphone has pretty much no weakness. There's nothing about this headphone that I don't like. I mean, it's not, there's a few headphones out there that are a little more detailed, but I mean, it's just such a enjoyable headphone to listen to. And you know, for a headphone that holds its own against, you know, some much more expensive headphones. I know, you know, $7.99 isn't cheap, but this does hold its own against headphones that cost 2 to 3 times that much. So, in my opinion, it's a very good deal. Just a zero fatigue headphone, and weight-wise, comfort-wise, you can wear this thing all day long, and the sound of it will never wear out your ears. It's just that smooth and that pleasant. I did also want to mention that these do have a 5-year warranty, which is up there with some of the best. I mean, a lot of headphones only have a 1-year, maybe 3-year warranty, and these do have a 5-year warranty. So what does it come down to? Do I recommend these? I'd say yes, very much. I highly recommend this headphone, and if you get a chance, definitely try it out. And if you have the opportunity to try it with a tube amp, especially an OTL type of tube amp, definitely do it, because this headphone just, you know, like I said, that Felix Audio Echo, the two are just made for each other. Just perfect synergy. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Once again, this is William from the Headphone Experience. If this video has helped you, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you are all welcome to join us over at the Headphone Experience on Facebook. Thank you.